Hello and welcome everybody to the open bar. We do the show every Tuesday morning after the morning show. Come on around 9:45, 10 o'clock. We're going to talk for 15, 20, 30 minutes, no more than that. Maybe we're even going to start doing it twice a week from what I hear. So what's up, Robert? What's up, Sandra? Bub Didubs. Trading Black. Are we going to short into this tape? Short what? I just made a killing on GLD October 2022 puts. That's tomorrow. You're crazy. No, that's awesome. Great trade. Good for you. I'm in some dust calls and GDX puts, and I sprayed pretty much across the board, but I'm very short term with this trade right now. I'm looking for a quick euphoric. Let's look at it. Right? Parabolic trends tend to only end in one way, right? It's this kind of what we're doing here. You really, there's no good way. You have to be an absolute mastermind, like a rocket scientist, to consistently find opportunities where your reward is skewed positively while your risk is skewed negatively. Sometimes we think we find those opportunities, but as it turns out, the market knew something we didn't, and that risk part of the equation was actually a lot larger. Generally speaking, 9 out of 10 times with what we do here, if you see something that looks like it's got a juiced reward profile, it also has a juiced risk profile. So that's the case with a trend like gold once it goes absolutely berserk like this, right? So gold absolutely took off, nowhere's near any important moving average, and we're just making the bet. We got a couple big down days here. This is GLD down almost 5% today. You see GDX absolutely, crushed here, collapsing south of a pretty big level, right? Something like this in GDX is how I would look at it, right? Gapping right through your first potential support zone. If we drill in on the 15, it's a 15-minute, right? You would whop it from the top and then the bottom. Those levels we gap, significantly below. Now you probably get some sort of a automatic reaction higher, a retest from below. 75 looks like a pretty clean level to get more short, I guess, but the big move already happened. So now after today's move, just far lower probability trade than the one that I put on last week, to be clear. So I don't love it unless you got a super short time frame, I guess. And then how much downside do you get in something like this? I don't know. You would zoom out, drop some more VWAPs from some big levels. Look, you had a range resolution here in the GDX, right? You could WAP like a breakout candle. What am I doing? See this? You could WAP the breakout candle. This is often good practice. You tend to get some volume coming in on a resolution. You should WAP it right there. Boom. And that would show you what, 70? So you're already, on your way to the next downside target. But also use Fibonacci's and stuff. Won't be as helpful with these euphoric types of blow off rallies, which is really what happened in gold and silver. And the reason we got bearish, just to be clear, or I got bearish, just to be clear, is the RSI. The RSI characteristics on this were just disgusting, just nosebleed territory. So this is the weekly RSI. It was up around 85 just last week. And then this is the long-term monthly RSI. I mean, it's still north of 90. If you just go and look through the chart, any other time that the monthly RSI got this extended, there's a peak back in 08. Monthly RSI extended again at the ultimate peak back in middle of 2011. Monthly RSI in nosebleed territory again back at the 2020 peak. And I mean, look, this even surpasses any of those prior momentum readings. So again, very little edge here to the upside. Risk, I think, is really, really skewed to the downside in precious metals. All right, that's enough about precious metals, though. How do you transfer your taking half off in options to? I don't. No, I'm just always selling. I build and I accumulate in the base, right? So here's a good example. I just love using ARC as an example. So in these primary trend trades, I'm accumulating as we're coming out of base, right? Right around here or here. It's got a sloppy resolution here in the case of ARC. And as we're climbing up the right-hand side, depending on just how much exposure to risk I want, I'll reduce and take profits and winners, right? Just depending on how much primary trend exposure I want. I reduced a good deal over the past couple of weeks, and I really like it. I'm feeling a dead cat bounce vibe, and I'll give you guys some levels that I'm watching. No, I'm not picking up silver at 46-ish. You're so late to that party, dude. But I don't think of like my common stock positions anything like I think of my options positions. I am thinking so much less about those during the day. My common stock. You get good entries, you ride the primary trend, big cushions, right? I'll have some steep stop losses in mind for a lot of these patterns. Really, I want long-term capital gains treatment for the most part. So that's another big thing that I'm looking at when I start taking profits on reversals like this. Am I 12 months in on this trade or not? That matters. Mrs. Doubtfire, nice. Robin Williams, so good. Quantum options. These quantum stocks have options, Fabrizio. Plenty of them. You got plenty of liquidity there. Look through the individual quantum names. You have options market liquidity. Yeah, we didn't talk about the nuclear news this morning, Robert. I saw that. What was it? Value Act? Who was the fund I saw? Interesting. Pushing pushing for a stake in SMR? Huh. Mm-mm. Uh no, Kevin. We sent those out last week. We actually shorted PayPal. We were just looking for some short exposure. PayPal just looks so awful here. We didn't get the splash lower. That was a broader market call. But right here, speaking of a dead cat bounce, yikes, PayPal. And then TDoc, we took a swing at, almost got the double, same day double there. Real close. Okay, just catching up on the chat here. UNG ready yet? I don't know. All right, let's look at some big levels in the indexes. Last Friday we came on. We said just as an exercise, let's talk about Value Act. That was it. So just as an exercise, let's talk about how we would get short if we wanted to get short this market. We talked about some big levels. How would you jump a short? Okay. For now, it looks like the market's digging in, trying to carve out, tradable low here. So big levels that I'm watching now. I'm looking at the weakest stocks always. Here's KRE, right? You drop some VWAPs here from last year's high or the April lows. Look, you're right there. This has become one of those kind of laggards or culprits of the current sell-off. It's really been financials. This has been a financial story, right? We talk about stuff like high yield, business development companies. Where's that ETF? BDC? No, that's not it. Private equity, right? You got some weakness there. So there's private equity sitting at the VWAP from the April lows as well. You want to see these levels reclaimed. You don't want to see bears take control of anything. And then the way you think about something like this is if the sellers can't even take control of like the worst groups of stocks, regional banks, yikes. What are they taking control of? They're never going to take control of the broader market. Stuff like the breakout in small caps, IWM, that's all going to stick. Stuff like S&P 500, NASDAQ, back to new all-time highs, probably in that case. So another good group to watch is the home builders, right? So you drop VWAPs again, last year's high, April low. Boom, dug in right where we needed to, and we're moving higher. Now from the opposite end, we want to see confirmation, right? Let's get back above the VWAP from the highs. I think the highest probability outcome right now is we start doing something like this, and you get some chop right in this zone here, right, over the course of the coming days and weeks, some sort of choppy mess and some coil plays out, right, where we can define our risk more clearly for a trade in the future. Something like that makes sense to me, right? And then another area that we just have to watch right now is Bitcoin. I see the top. I definitely see the top. Oops. This is what I'm talking about. Sure looks like a top. Use that VWAP, right, from the April lows to guide you. But losing Bitcoin would not be good. Would not be good. From a risk appetite standpoint, people want to be like, oh, but it's Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. Crypto doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. This is one of the best risk indicators that we get. You get it on the weekends too. It's just phenomenal. Really good. The fact that stocks came in pretty much unfazed today after the weakness in crypto yesterday, pretty cool. I think this has to hold. Regional banks, home builders, Bitcoin, three of the real weak corners of the offensive market right now need to hold. Really need to hold. And another one, you want to throw one in, private equity, right? And watch those credit spreads. Those things hold. Then we got to start thinking, okay, there's the S&P 500. Are we blowing back through the upper bounds here? Right? Because we talked about last week. Here's the S&P 500 daily chart, where we could put VWAPs from the upper bounds and VWAPs from the lower bounds, and now we have a pretty big range here at the index level that we're likely to chop between. And now this will be the first test, right? From now below, testing this resistance at the highs from just earlier this month. I don't think we blast right through. I think bears are not done. The sellers are still out here. They're just waiting, right? They're waiting for their moment, waiting for their entry. Probably comes at the upper bounds here. But we talked about how tactically we drill in and talking about like trading opportunities last week. We said you could jump a short on a break below this VWAP, or more conservatively, this VWAP. But you're really not getting confirmation on that short until you get a break of the lower bounds down here. And that's a jump level. And in the same way, you could have jumped along using the VWAP from the upper bounds. Look, came in right around the same place, right? But you're right in the middle of this range. So if you traded this move when you got the VWAP break here around the low 660s, something like SPY, now you're back towards the upper bounds. Just sure, did you hit it to the penny? No, you came within a dollar or two. But that's pretty much like for a trade, a level where you want to be taking profits, right? And now you can look, drop a VWAP again from the lows. That's where you want to look for downside. We're probably heading back to the lower bounds of this range. If you want to get even more tactical on something like that, which I don't want to do today, you could just drop a VWAP from yesterday's opening candle, or even if you want to be more tactical, today's opening candle, which I believe is right here. Yeah. So there you go. Those are some levels for the S&P 500 today. I think this is a very logical level over the near term for some sellers to come in. Then what do you want to do? Go back to those charts that we just talked about, right? Okay, what are the home builders doing? Are they holding that big level that we outlined, right? That VWAP from the April lows there. What are, I'm sorry, those are regional banks. What are the home builders doing? That's a sloppy chart. Let's look at the XHB. Right, are home builders holding where they need to? Okay, they are. IBIT, is it failing this top, right? Is Bitcoin, is this looking like a valid top in Bitcoin as equity indexes are trying to rush back to new highs? Can't be, shouldn't be. Another thing, speculative growth, right? Look at the speculative growth. Really good. That a nice coil up there. If these coils start to resolve, we start to see things at new cycle highs in the case of something like ARC, or new all-time highs in the cases of the large cap indexes. We're back to a risk on market. We're back to get money mode. And I think we could all feel a lot better taking more risk or adding more exposure on the long side. For now, I'm not sold that that's going to happen here today. We'll continue to monitor the price action and see what happens. I wanted to hit a couple ideas here that we've been looking at. Okay. We talked about Dave last week. Just throw that one back up. I continue to like the coil here, right? And the Dave, we talked about this one. Maybe go back and watch that video. But like Dave does this pattern over and over and over again, where it's just sideways for a prolonged period of time, right? And then it just rips out of these coils, right? That's a coil. This was a coil. And look at the way it comes out of these things. And I think you just seeing the most recent version of that, right? Again, look at the way it just rips out of these coils, and it's doing like over 100% every time it does that. So I think you're just seeing that pattern play out again in the Dave. How you want to pick your spot? Use the short-term VWAP, right? So you're above it there. And if you wanted to get even more tactical, you drill into like a 1-minute chart on the Dave, or forget that, 15-minute chart on the Dave. Right? You start dropping VWAPs from pivot highs. Okay, we're above them. We're above them. You'll find we're above all of them, right? So where to enter the Dave? Well, if you're looking to jump it, it's right here. All right. Same space. I really like the fintechs, right? Paying attention to the fintechs here. Lemonade, probably not a top, right? So you zoom out, you got this massive base here. See, I got the VWAP dropped from prior cycle highs here. Bulls are in control of the primary trend. You're just getting a little corrective wave, which, by the way, a really resilient corrective wave, coming out of a massive multi-year, primary trend reversal pattern, right? So that's what I'm talking about. That's probably not a top. Probably seeing price dig in right here. Momentum never oversold, setting up really nicely. I don't have the squeeze indicator on here. We might flip it over because I want to do SATL, which is such a good example. But you would see the squeeze indicators, bottoming out and trying to scoop higher. If I had that on the chart, use the VWAP from pivot highs again for all of these. If you're looking to jump in entry, yeah, the lemonade looks good, and one that looks even better. Sticking with the fintech space, the SoFi is so fine. Here, look, I'm gonna zoom out on this one. That's a major breakout. A nice coil, nice, tight consolidation, digesting what's been just major gains. What, from 8 to almost 30? So like 4x off of the April lows, and now just digesting up here. See, this is the digestion I'm talking about. Okay, so basically you're buying this coil resolution. How do we get in? How do you guys think? You're already in. You're already in. There's no VWAP that you could drop on this chart. That price is below right now. I like that. Okay, and then just, yeah, Rocket Labs looks good too. Let's real quick on the Rocket Labs. Tight, tight. Look at that. You want to buy a green candle here for sure. But nice, right? Really nice. Zoom out on that one too. Wow. It just looks fantastic. And then satellite. Satellogic, the satellite. We nailed this. What am I talking about? Absolutely nailed it. How did we know? Because the squeeze indicator never looks so good on every time frame, right? Look at this coil. Now the squeeze indicator, by the way, those of you who are members know, it's directionally agnostic. Doesn't tell us what direction is that move coming in. It just tells us, yo, big move. I see a coil like this. I think space and exploration, satellite, satellogic, whatever. Look what ASTS and Raga Labs and Planet Labs are doing. This is going to do what all the other space stocks are doing. Look, this thing went from under $1 to $5, up 500% plus. Just in a month or two last year, late last year. It's been a strong stock, coiled up, digesting gains. We're betting on an upside resolution. What happened? The squeeze indicator was spot on, nailed it. Said massive move is brewing. Your volatility is about to come into this name. We came in and said, okay, we have one job now. We got to pick the right direction. Let's lean long. It's a bull market. This stock's in a great peer group. Boom. Went in the opposite direction. The market had other plans, but the squeeze indicator, again, the reason why this one was at the top of our list is because it was just as tight as anything, and you knew a huge move was coming. Look at the volume come into this thing, and look at the way it just fell off a cliff. In the past 3 sessions and a morning now, down 40+%. That's the kind of moves we're looking to identify with our squeeze indicator. We have to pick the direction right, and this will happen all the time. We just get direction wrong. Really good stuff. All right, back to the chat quick. Office REITs, boring. What happened to SATL? That happened. 45% in a couple sessions. Look, you saw this candle blowing. Boom, right here. That's where you sold. You get out on a candle like that right here. I was saying to the guys, really wasn't that bad. I had a huge common stock position, and I had plenty of calls that are pretty much worth zero now. But the common stock, just cut out of it, and probably lost like 25 cents, maybe 50 cents on this. I don't know what my cost basis was, but when you get a tight range like this, when you get a tight coil, right, you could define your risk really tightly. So why not take a shot? This move didn't happen in the pre-market or anything. You had a chance to sell that as it was falling off a cliff. You didn't need to lose the 40% like it's shown here. But the squeeze indicator, wow, what a hit. Crypto bouncing, it better, less. We got to see it. We could hope for a bounce, or we could actually see a bounce. I need to actually see a bounce. You could buy on both sides, but we very rarely do we get the direction wrong. We have other tools to help with the direction. We're using momentum and trend indicators to help with the direction. I didn't talk about any of them today, but members know. So when we look at our squeeze engine for members, which is live on the website now, I'm going to go through it live next week. It's such a cool tool. But right next to the squeeze score, which is directionally agnostic, we have another column that's going to show you the momentum and the trend score, right? Help you kind of make that big decision. Is the move coming up or down? Right? But I'll tell you, as a trader, the more important information for me is big move coming. That's more important. It's usually pretty easy to pick the direction to lean in, and you're always going to be wrong sometimes, right? But rarely am I like, oh god, we got the direction wrong. Oh, it's terrible. Very rare. So it does happen. And SATL, great example. Yeah, this is Zcash. What's going on, y'all? You crypto crazies? Soul spiking. Relax with the cryptos. We got to see it. Crypto's been awful. Bitcoin miners sick. Been great. So good. It's weird how good they've been. Uh, Bitcoins, the spot market's terrible. Gross. Awful. Awful action. Awful action. What's wrong with you, crypto? Got to dig in here. Yeah, no, definitely boring. All REITs, actually, super boring. It's a bull market. Yeah, yeah, it's boring. Yeah, Beyond Meat, what a move. What a move. Not really for me. That company's probably a zero long term. Nobody wants that trash. Netflix and Tesla. Yeah, yeah, Netflix. Everybody gets so excited for the Netflix reports. Netflix is not a Mag 7. The Mag 7s have like 5 Netflixes inside of every one of them. But it's been a great story for a long time. You could buy on both sides, Charles, but I almost never do. If I am, I'm seeing something that's saying, okay, this is resolving higher, and then I'm seeing something else, and it's not too late where I'm saying, okay, no, I was wrong, it's resolving lower. So I would never do it on the same day, right? I would have to see something in the coil that makes me think there's big evidence of a resolution. I just saw big evidence that it was coming one direction. Now I'm seeing counter evidence it's actually coming in the opposite direction. That's the scenario that I would buy on both sides for. So it's not that it would never happen. It has happened, actually. It's just very rare. Very rare. Usually we just get it right. I don't use it so much as a short-term reversal indicator, the VIX. No, but I thought the VIX was pretty helpful last weekend. You could argue last week. You could argue the VIX signaled something that wasn't there. Never really got the big flush lower in equity markets. Maybe we just haven't yet. If the sellers come out, they're coming out right here. Did the froth really come out of nuclear? I mean, did it? I don't know. A lot of stuff in speculative growth looks this way. Is SMR? No. I think the easy money has surely been made in nuclear. Taking some big profits there recently. You know, it's been a great bull market if it ended last week, or the week before, whatever. It's been great, right? Got to be grateful for what's been just truly lovely bull market for everyone. A lot of money's been made. They don't last forever. I'll be shocked if we blow right through support. I'm sorry, if we blow right through resistance here. This is a SPY on a daily, right? This is the Qs right there. I'd be really surprised, right? We look out. If we do, whoa, great. I don't think so. We'll see. We'll see. If we do, I'm going with it. I'm not going to fight it. I promise you that much. Okay, great. Tech looks fantastic, by the way. Tech back on the driver's seat. So that's another one to watch, the XLK. I think you would want to see industrials too, right? Boy, talk about a tight range. Look at XLI here, right? It's got to resolve higher. And then watch financials, right? If we roll here, this group will be getting hit, probably the hardest. KRE will probably lead it, right? Already down on the day, KRE. You get a big red candle here in KRE, that also wouldn't surprise me. And we're trading back into the 50s, 59, 58. testing the lows from last week. Market's probably following. If not today, probably tomorrow. All right, so watch these big charts, watch these big VWAP levels. I think we got some good ones to the downside here and stuff like KRE, XHB, IBIT that we talked about. Maybe those would be some pontification on the short side if we roll. And then, on the other side of that equation, S&P 500, NASDAQ, Dow, upper bounds, they break out to new all-time highs, and you got to lean long. Look, the Dow's going to take a shot here today. Let's see it, right? Small cap should follow, right? You would want to see the Russell 2000 breaking back out here, 2% away. All right, so some things to look for in each direction. Maybe we'll be back later in the week to talk about more, but for now, Bears made a little progress over the past few weeks. Bulls coming out, making some progress now in the opposite direction, repairing some of that damage, and we're still trading in some big ranges here. So we're going to find out more soon. Thank you all for joining me on the Open Bar. I absolutely love this show. Coming and chatting and talking markets live here. Live on a Tuesday morning. What could be better? So thanks all for joining me. Thank you for all your support always. We'll be back with another show soon. If not this week, you can find us here every Tuesday morning right after the morning show about 9:45 for the Open Bar. All right, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Adios.